It's Ash from SuperVideos back for another video for The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. We're going to be talking about Rick's Revolution. I'm going to explain what Rick's Revolution is and what they're doing to set it up. Everything that we've seen as far as the build up for this big revolution that Rick is going to bring to the CRM. And really, we're going to talk about the conflict with Rick and allies versus the CRM, which is led by Major General Beale. And you might be surprised that a lot of what we're going to talk about and a lot of what they have set up is actually very similar to something that we've already seen with the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth resistance story is somewhat identical to this story that we might see in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live, which is super interesting. Now, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if it's just too obvious or if I just put it together and nobody else has been able to put it together and it's not really obvious. So it might be a twist and a shock to a lot of you. But this is everything that I've been able to put together as far as the similarities between the Commonwealth resistance story and Rick's revolution story, which we might see in The Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break it down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. At this point, everyone agrees that they're setting up a story where Rick and allies are going to go up against the Civic Republic Military led by Major General Beale. There are a lot of characters from the CRM side that are wild cards. We don't know who they're going to be loyal to, CRM or Rick, one of those being Jadis. But for the most part, we know there's going to be two distinct groups, CRM and Rick and allies. Now, speaking of similarities, let's break down these similarities one by one. The Commonwealth has a very strong military, not as strong as Civic Republic military, but still a substantially bigger military than any that we've seen in the Walking Dead universe. They actually invest a lot of resources in building up their military and strengthening their military. Something that, like I said, we haven't seen any other group do in the Walking Dead universe. And outside of CRM, the Commonwealth is the closest military group that we've seen to an actual army. On the other hand, the Civic Republic has the biggest military that we've seen in the universe, 2,000 soldiers. They have so many soldiers that they actually have a dedicated, isolated military sector within the Civic Republic called the Civic Republic Military, led by Major General Beale. Their military is so big that their soldiers are separated in two groups, the regular soldiers and the special forces. This shot that was in the trailer makes that pretty clear, that we're going to see two distinct soldiers within the CRM. And because of that size, they are not just going to have one leader. They're going to have multiple commanders that are responsible for their own mini group, as you do in a real military in the modern world. One of these commanders was actually shown in the trailer. He actually leads his own special forces, a small sector within the CRM. And obviously all of these soldiers still report to the leader, Major General Beale. And of course, in the case of the Commonwealth, we know that all Commonwealth soldiers have only one commander who they report to. And it's not like the CRM where there are multiple sectors or multiple groups that have their own dedicated commanders. But in the case of Commonwealth, their commander is Mercer. Of course, Mercer was a wild card in the Commonwealth story. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But what's obvious is that the Commonwealth had a military commander, Mercer. All Commonwealth soldiers reported to him, and Mercer reported to Governor Pamela Milton, the leader of the Commonwealth. In the same way, the CRM soldiers have mini commanders that run their own groups, who at the end all report to the leader, Major General Beale. Now, let's step back a little bit. When Rick first gets to the Civic Republic, or CR, he's probably going to have a story that's very similar to the story that our survivors had when they first came to the Commonwealth. There's a possibility that Rick is going to be fed false information about the CR and the intentions of the Civic Republic Military. And what people might try to show him from the CR is probably going to be the good side of the CR. But of course, when there's a good side, there's also a bad side. And like I said, similarly, when Eugene and survivors went to Commonwealth, they went through the same thing. The people that were close to Pamela Milton and Lance Hornsby tried to show Eugene the good side of Commonwealth and tried to hide all of the bad things that happened. And beside that, they had a spy who tried to get information from Eugene. I'm assuming that they might do the same thing with Rick Grimes at the Civic Republic. They might have a character get close to him and act as a spy for them to try to see what Rick's intentions are. One of the major things about the Commonwealth story was that Yumiko's brother was at the Commonwealth. He was one person that the group could trust 100%. If not the group, definitely Yumiko. They might do something similar with Rick Grimes. He might actually see someone that he knows at the Civic Republic who he might trust fully. And that might be a way for him to find out what the Civic Republic is really like and whether everyone is telling him the truth. Now, the other thing that's similar is when Rick gets to Civic Republic, the leader, Major General Beale, is going to try to get him on his side. He's going to try to make him one of his close friends because of who he is and because of the charisma that he has, the skills that he has. Pamela Milton did the same thing to Yumiko by making her her own dedicated lawyer. So as you can see, there are a lot of different layers that are matching up as far as the story at Commonwealth and the potential story at the Civic Republic. Let's take that further. The Commonwealth had a labor camp. We saw Negan, Ezekiel, and others transported to this work camp, which was at Alexandria, to do labor work for the Commonwealth. In much the same way, we know that Rick Grimes and others, like Silas, were also sent to labor camps to do work for the Civic Republic. So this is another similarity. And on top of that, the Commonwealth actually put people through some tests to prove their worth. If the labor camp that we're going to see set up by the CRM is not like the labor camp that we saw in Commonwealth, it's definitely similar to the camp that we saw Eugene and others have to go to prove their worth, to work up their ranks at the place that they're at. On top of that, there's another similarity. The people that speak against the leadership of Commonwealth are arrested. And of course, the people that speak against the leadership of the CRM are also arrested. It doesn't matter who you are, how big or small you are. In the case of Commonwealth, we saw Mercer being arrested because he did not want to follow orders from Pamela Milton. In the same way, Elizabeth Kublek, one of the lieutenants of CRM, was arrested and framed for treason because they saw her as a threat. Specifically, Jadis saw her as a threat, but that's beside the point. Now let's take things one step further. Of course, Commonwealth had three main people that were running things. Pamela Milton, their leader, Mercer, their commander, and Lance Hornsby. was Pamela Milton's speaker in many ways. He was the one that put himself in front of the people. He was the one that did all of the dirty work for Pamela, some of which Pamela wasn't even aware of. So Governor Pamela Milton of the Commonwealth is the equivalent of Major General Beale of the CRM. They're both the leader. The only difference is that Major General Beale has a military background, whereas Governor Pamela Milton has a political background before the fall. Of course, Elizabeth Kublek was one of the lieutenants of CRM, who does all of the dirty work for the CRM. And of course, like Major General Beale, she has a military background. On the other hand, the equivalent of people like Elizabeth Kublek from the CRM is Lance Hornsby for the Commonwealth, who does Pamela Milton's dirty work for her. Now again, the only difference, or the biggest difference, is that unlike people like Elizabeth Kublek who have military backgrounds, Lance Hornsby has a political background. And like we said before, Mercer is the main commander for the Commonwealth Army, much like people like Jadis and other soldiers or commanders are in that role for the CRM organization. The other similarity is we know that Rick Grimes is going to make his way into the CRM. He's going to become a soldier for the CRM, just like Daryl Dixon and Rosita became soldiers for the Commonwealth. So another very interesting similarity there. Now, there are a lot more similarities that you might not have even noticed. In the Commonwealth story, one of the biggest things about it was that the reporters and journalists were coming up with stories, trying to chase the truth and expose Pamela Milton's true intentions. Similarly, we know that CRM is going to see a lot of backlash from journalists and reporters from the CR who are going to try to expose what is going on in the military and what Major General Beale is doing. Of course, we know Rick Grimes is going to try to escape because he wants to get back to his family. The problems at the CR are not his problems to be had, but we know that things are not going to go well for him and he's going to be captured. So maybe Rick is going to see no other possibility but to start a revolution to combat the CRM and defeat Major General Beale. And maybe characters like Elizabeth Kublek are going to be characters that are going to help Rick in that quest to defeat Major General Beale. Now, of course, the revolution that Rick is going to kickstart is similar to the resistance at the Commonwealth. Now, we don't know how deep they're going to go with it, but if they go as deep, then we're probably going to see the people of the Civic Republic stand up to the CRM, just like the people of Commonwealth stood up against Pamela Milton. And of course, like the Commonwealth resistance, who are very active and were involved in a lot of secret activities, some people from the Civic Republic, including Rick, might do the same thing. Secret activities to rebel against the military and start a coup that could potentially lead to a big revolution. But what is definitely obvious here is that they are setting up a war of ideologies between Major General Beale of the CRM and Rick Grimes. And if everything goes according to our predictions, Rick is going to build his own army. An army that might consist of ex-CRM soldiers, lieutenants, and commanders who broke away from the CR, as well as the Commonwealth military and its allies. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go through in this video. This was a long video, but I think it was important to piece together all of the similarities between these two storylines for us to really see where the story of the CRM and the ones who live might be heading. But I am interested to know your thoughts and opinions, so share that in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.